Okay, good morning, everybody. We are going to begin the December 13th. It's our last meeting of the for the year of the Advisory Commission on Charter Schools. Welcome. And Commissioner Washington will lead us this morning in the pledge to the flag. Please stand.
Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. So we'll start with introductions. We've got several commissioners here at the table. We also have two who are participating remotely. So I'll start on my far left with introductions.
Gail Garbalino Mojica, I'm representing county superintendents.
Jared Austin, representing parents and guardians.
Lisa Constancio for the State Superintendent, Tom Torlakson.
I'm Brian Bauer, the chair representing charter schools.
Okay, Hinton Hodge representing local school districts.
Curtis Washington representing teachers.
And we've got two commissioners on the telephone participating remotely.
This is Dr. Wes Sever, representing superintendents.
Morning.
And Dr. Mark Ryan representing charter school administrators.
Fantastic. Okay, and we're privileged to have two of our state board members who are here today.
Trish Williams.
And Bruce Holliday.
Very good. Okay, so we'll go over some items, housekeeping, in just a moment. Let's take a look, commissioners, first at the meeting notes from our last meeting.
This is Dr. Ryan. I'd like to move those.
Okay, we've got a motion to move the meeting notes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Curtis seconds those. Any comments? Suggested edits for those notes? Okay, if not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, so those meeting notes are approved. Let's move into updates from first the Charter Schools Division, and then we'll hear from our state board liaisons on charter schools with their update, and then I'll talk a little bit about the meeting agenda and some housekeeping items. So Lisa, would you like to start? Thanks.
Good morning. Just a brief update on the Public Charter School Grant Program. We currently have 40 planning, implementation, and replication sub-grant applications that have passed peer review. And each charter school has requested a sub-grant of up to $475,000. The review process is still ongoing. However, we have approximately 25 applicants that will receive official grant awards within the next few weeks. So we are on target to hopefully fully expend the grant. Also, just brief updates on the non-classroom based funding determinations. The deadline for new schools was December 3rd, and we had 60 new schools that needed to submit a funding determination. We are happy to report we have all of them so that we don't have any waivers coming forward. Yeah, I know, Bruce, I'm there too. So that is really good news. We also do have an upcoming deadline, February 1st, for existing charter schools that need a funding determination. So we will start notifying those as well that the deadline is coming. And also that's the same deadline for any charter schools that are converting from classroom-based to non-classroom based. They also do need to file by February 1st. So that's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trish or Bruce?
At the November State Board meeting, the Mary L. Booker petition to establish a new charter school in San Francisco was approved unanimously.
Great. Okay. All right, so we don't have much to do on the reordering of the agenda because we've got one item today, and it's an important one. So before I talk about some housekeeping items for this morning, let me open or create the space in the meeting for public comment on non-agendized items. So if there is anyone who has signed up to speak on an item that does not appear on the agenda, this is the space to do so. And with all public comment, please state your full name, the organization that you represent. And if you haven't signed up, you can see Jonathan at the front desk. You'll see him now making his way back to his seat. You're welcome to approach him. Good morning.
Lisa and her crew, they've done a yeoman's work on managing the grant process. We had some issues with the federal government. My understanding from the feedback I'm hearing from DC is they've done a ton of work to iron out a lot of snafus, so we really appreciate that in getting the grant moving forward. And it's also my understanding that we may be seeing some turnover in the near future on the state board and on this commission. I wanted to thank everybody who has put in all the time and work on this. It's really been it's a difficult process to deal with charter appeals in particular, and watching you guys deal with it is sometimes entertaining, sometimes frustrating, and but really been impressed with the depth of dedication that you guys put into this. I know that the pay ain't great, so we appreciate that, and in particular our board liaisons and the heavy lift that they've done for so many years, so we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There's no one signed up for general comment.
Great. Before we get into that, I want to continue with Eric's comments about a transition on the advisory commission. So for two of us today, myself and Curtis, this is our last meeting, and I spoke to Curtis before if he wanted to share a few comments, and if you'd like to, you're welcome to start. I've got a few things that I'd like to speak to before we begin this morning.
Well, I can't leave without expressing my sincere gratitude to the State Board for allowing me to be a member of this commission, and to the fellow commissioners, the ones sitting here who I respect very highly, and the ones in the past that I've served with. This has been an incredible experience for me to see people from all over the state coming before this commission. It's been a learning process for me. I continue to learn. You know, I think of myself as a teacher, but also you're not a good teacher if you're not a good student. And so I have learned so much from everyone who's come in front of this commission, and from the State Board, and from my fellow commissioners, and I thank you for that. They say if you're not learning, you're not alive. So I am definitely alive, and as I ride off into the sunset after, what, 9 years? Oh my God. As I ride off into the sunset, I've already got stuff I'm doing. Though I'm retired from my school district, they keep seeming to call me every day to come and substitute teach. So I've been doing a lot of that. And also last night, I was sworn in on the Brisbane School Board. So I'm now a school board member in Brisbane, and that's going to be fun. It's a very small district, hopefully manageable. And so I'm going to be finding things to keep me busy. Anyway, thank you all. Thanks to my fellow commissioners. Thank you so much to the board liaisons and the rest of the State Board for this tremendous opportunity.
Thanks, Curtis. Yeah, I'd like to echo those thanks too to so many people who have make this work really possible for us. I was thinking about what I'm most proud of, and I'm most proud of the space that this commission has created for charter schools, for districts, for counties, obviously with the California Department of Education, to come put their best foot forward in how students can be best served. And like Curtis, it's been a long haul. I was asked recently, how long have you been on this commission? And my response was, who's counting? But it has been since early 2007 that I came on this commission, and then have been chairing it for 10 years. And it's also caused me to reflect on the wonderful commissioners that I've had the privilege of working with. And I talked about the space that's been created. The space that was created and is created is because the commissioners, all of them, for the 12 years that I've been on this commission, have respected one another and respected the work that's been done by charter schools, by districts, by the CDE staff, and that tone of civility and openness and questioning has created that space that has allowed for us to do some of the heavy lifting for the state board. And that comes, as Eric said, from individuals who aren't paid to do this, who in almost every case have other full-time work, like the state board members, and give of their time. And it's been really one of gratitude for me. Thinking about some of the CDE directors that started with Carol Barkley. When I first got on here, I was reminded of Greg Geeding, who was an interim director for a period of time. I remember really fondly Keith Edmonds, who was our go-to guy on non-classroom based funding determinations for so many years. And Beth Hunkapiller was a director. She was also on this commission for a number of years. Julie Russell, Cindy Chan, it's been, what, a year since she left, and now Lisa, to be privileged to work with you. And then some of the folks behind the scenes. McKenna Huey did so much for us as commissioners with travel, and Tina Siminoff for years made the logistical work of being a commissioner so much easier. And then now Jonathan and all that you do to support us. I want to thank each and every one of you. And then on another level from the state board, as both the commissioner and then later a chair, I was really privileged to have and we were privileged to have Yvonne Chan as the first liaison to this commission. We hadn't seen a state board member actively attend commission meetings up until the time that she started attending, and she was and still is just an absolute pleasure to work with. And then I didn't think it could get better after she left, and it has gotten better with Bruce and Trish. They've just been absolutely phenomenal liaisons to have, who are not only at every meeting, they model what I think is really appropriate participation by a state board member in terms of like being active listeners and asking appropriate and timely questions, and then really carrying the deliberations of what take place here to the state board so that they can be best informed about what's transpired here. And like any organization, the state board is supported by phenomenal staff, and it's wonderful to see Carolyn Pfister here because we've been really privileged to have her with us for many years, and it's made all the difference, not just in substance, but in the touch, personal touch that she gives to so much of what we do. So thank you very much. With that, we will move forward with our agenda. So we've handled public comment on non-agendized items. On the housekeeping front, I go over this at every meeting. Want to thank the CDE staff for the preparation on this item, as they do with every item. It's so thorough. The tech staff who make this meeting possible in terms of technology. We've got 2 commissioners participating remotely, as well as this meeting is live streamed, and it's available on the ACCS website after this meeting concludes if you wish to view it, as well as anything archived. It's available there. You can also, on that ACCS website, which is accessible through the state board page, enter your email for updates related to this commission, meeting notes, agendas, as well as materials, and to thank the tech staff for all of that. The materials that we have this morning were sent to us and could be sent to you as well remotely if you're on that website. They're also available on the back table if you wish to peruse those or review those. And so again, thank you to the CDE staff for all that you do to make this venue in this forum so possible for us. We're going to move then now into item number 1, which is the petition for the establishment of a charter school under the oversight of the state board. We're going to consider the Watsonville Prep School, which was denied by Pajaro Valley Unified School District and the Santa Cruz County Office of Ed. Carrie's going to begin that presentation for us. And then after she finishes, I'll go over the public hearing components and the order, if you will, of the presentations with speakers who have signed up as well, and what this commission does then as we move into deliberation and action. So welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. All right, good morning, Chair Bauer, Commissioners, Director Constancio, and Board Members Holliday and Williams. I am Carrie Lopes, Education Administrator in the Charter Schools Division, and I am presenting Item 1. Item 1 is an appeal for the establishment of Watsonville Prep School, which was denied by the Pajaro Valley Unified School District on May 23rd, 2018 by a vote of 5-0, and denied by the Santa Cruz County Board of Education on August 16th, 2018 by a vote of 4-3. Pursuant to California Education Code 47605J, petitioners for a charter school that has been denied at the local level may petition the State Board of Education for approval. CDE received the appeal for Watsonville Prep on September 28, 2018. CDE is proposing that the SBE hold a public hearing to approve the request to establish Watsonville Prep, a kindergarten through grade 8 charter school, under the oversight of the State Board of Education, noting the following condition that needs to be met prior to the opening of operation in 2019-20. The Watsonville Prep School Board will provide the CDE with a revised multi-year budget, including updated financial projections and complete narrative and assumptions. The CDE finds that the petitioners have a sound educational program, and the petitioners are demonstrably likely to implement the program set forth in the petition. Additionally, the CDE finds that the Watsonville Prep petition does provide a reasonably comprehensive description of most of the required elements. If approved by the State Board, the updates would be needed to Element 2, which is measurable pupil outcomes, and Element 9, annual independent financial audits. Watsonville Prep will serve as a direct funded charter school operated by Navigator Schools. Currently, Navigator operates 2 college prep K through 8 schools, Gilroy Prep and Hollister Prep. Watsonville Prep proposes to enroll 180 pupils in year 1 and grow to serve 420 pupils in kindergarten through grade 6 in year 5, which is 2024. Watsonville Prep plans to replicate the same educational model implemented at both schools and is designed to prepare students for the rigors of high school. I would like to point out that although the anticipated enrollment plan for 2019 through 2024, which would be the term of the charter, in the petition only includes K through grade 6, the petitioner's plan, and this is in the petition as well, expanding Watsonville Prep as a K-8 school in subsequent years, recognizing that the school will need to be renewed in order to continue to operate. The CDE has concluded that the multi-year financial plan is fiscally viable due to positive ending fund balances and adequate reserves for each year. Additionally, the petitioners have secured financial commitment letters from the Charter School Growth Fund, Silicon Schools Fund, and the Walton Family Foundation. The school proposes to locate within the city boundaries of Watsonville. The CDE has reviewed the Watsonville Prep appeal documents, including the petition and all the appendices, the budget and financial projections, the fiscal and operating policies, and the district and county agenda, minutes, and findings regarding the denial of the Watsonville Prep petition, along with the petitioner's responses. The petitioner is here to address the commission. A representative from both the district and county are available to address the commission and answer any questions that you might have. And of course, CD staff is available as well.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Any clarifying questions from Carrie? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the public hearing and the structure of that. Probably have an opportunity to call you back.
Okay.
Thanks. So we're going to open the public hearing on this item now, commissioners and those in the audience. And that begins with the petitioner presenting before this commission, presentation up to 10 minutes, which doesn't include questions that we may ask. That's not counted in the time. And then after the petitioner addresses the commission, we'll have an opportunity to hear from, and we heard that there are reps from both the district and the county. They have a combined 10 minutes to present before us. And then We will hear from public speakers on this item, and my understanding is that we've got a lot of public speakers, which is fantastic. We're going to hear each and every one of you, should you wish to address this commission. We'll then close the public hearing and begin deliberations, which could include, very well may include, questions of either the petitioner, CDE, or the district or the county, and then ultimately take a vote on this item, which would be a recommendation to the State Board of Education. So if there aren't any questions about that format, we'll start with the petitioner now. If he or she could make his or her way to the lectern. Pardon? 10 minutes. Yeah. Welcome.
Good morning, commissioners and staff. My name is Kevin Sved. I'm CEO of Navigator Schools. I want to first start by extending a sincere thank you to the CDE staff for your diligent review of our charter petition. I'll be returning to the podium in just a few minutes. Right now, I'm really proud to introduce you to Andrea Hernandez, our founding principal for Watsonville Prep School.
Good morning. As a founding Hollister Prep teacher, it is an honor to be here today. These pictures before you illustrate the faces of resilience, determination, and passion. These faces are why we stand before you asking you to open WPS in August 2019. We are asking this as a result of years of commitment to the community, hundreds of hours of parent involvement, and a proven track record of success at both of our current schools. Several of our staff members have either lived in Watsonville, attended or worked in local schools, and now want to be responsive to the parents who have asked for this choice. After visiting Hollister and Gilroy Prep Schools, a group of very dedicated parents began working to bring this school to their hometown for their children and for the children of so many others who could not be here today. These parents were drawn to Navigator's mission-driven behavior. Regardless of circumstances is more than just the last line in our mission. It is the how and the why we are closing the achievement gap. Navigator exists to provide the most traditionally underserved students with this education foundation they need to be prepared to succeed in high school, college, and beyond. And this mission is why we have received over 200 intent to enroll forms for our opening year. These dedicated Watsonville parents witnessed what Gilroy Unified and Hollister School District saw when they decided to originally partner with Navigator. And then again what the districts recognized when they recently unanimously approved both schools for their 5-year renewals. These parents experienced why Santa Cruz County Office of Education staff members recommended approval. They saw an effective model, which our founders envisioned when they were educators in local traditional public school districts, including Gilroy and Pajaro Valley. From the moment you walk onto a Navigator campus, you will notice our strong academic performance, our emphasis on continuous improvement, and solid relationships between staff and students alike. The first compass point, culture of excellence, drives who we are. From day one, Navi founders wanted students to feel as if they were special, striving for excellence. This focus is illustrated by every child, every educator, every staff member always doing their best, never taking good enough as the answer. And we appreciate the struggles that come along the way. Again, this attitude is what has driven our schools to close the achievement gap for the most traditionally underserved. At the core of Navigator's success is the integration of data into every decision we make. Students' academic progress is assessed weekly, with modifications made to their personalized program as needed. Being able to know where a student struggles and succeeds enables the instructional staff to address needs immediately through intervention programs. Visitors to Navigator and Navigator staff members all agree. Our emphasis on coaching is key to our success. Every staff member is coached on a weekly basis. Instructors instructors are observed daily with a formal weekly feedback meeting, which includes glows and an action step to be implemented. This focus on continuous improvement is at the core of Navigator's mission and can be tied directly to our high teacher retention rate. Several of Navigator's founding team came with a strong background in special education. Navigator's education model is full inclusion, with paraprofessionals pushing into the classroom all day. At any given time, you can walk into a Navigator classroom and see 2 to 3 adults working with students in a small group or a whole class setting. While high-tech tools can often be used to appear cutting edge, Navigator's deliberate use of technology enables the students to personalize their blended learning time, and it also gives them an opportunity to take over the iPad and serve as leaders and educators. I would like to close by sharing with you a few images which capture why I remain committed to this endeavor. These are the faces of our Reading is Fun Club, held every Monday night in Watsonville. In this incredibly positive environment, parents can see the impact of Navigator's center model is having on their children in just a short period of time. The love and the enthusiasm in the room is just a precursor to the feelings we'll have when WPS opens next fall. Kevin will now tell you a little more about Navigator students and our success and academic performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. We are honored by the recognition of Innovate Public Schools that recognized our success in closing the achievement gap for low-income Latino students. Out of over 1,200 schools in the Bay Area, Gilroy Prep was the highest performing school in both ELA and math last year. If Hollister Prep were in the region considered, Hollister Prep would have been #1, moving GPS down to #2. And as proud of that story as we are, the story of Paula, a second grade, someone who started with us in second grade, reading at the kindergarten level, is even more important to us. The big story is made up of a lot of these little stories. Paula started with us as an English language learner. She was later redesignated as fluent English proficient, and over time she was had tested at proficient or advanced the 4 years that she took the SBAC. So the strong English language development program at Navigator really served Paula and many students like her, as these scores indicate. 96% of our redesignated fluent English proficient students scored at proficient or advanced last year. Now, Paula's reading fluency, it's not just about scores. These are really measurements that matter. This shows how Paula's reading fluency increased, which opens doors to knowledge and dreams. Now, looking at all of Navigator students, both at Gilroy Prep and Hollister Prep, you see that the performance rates, the proficiency rates of 85% in reading, 88% in reading for Hollister Prep, and then 70 and 75 in math. These are very strong scores, and this is with a population that's predominantly low-income and Latino. So we're very proud of these scores. This next slide shows how we're doing with our migrant students. So we have about 10% of our students at Hollister Prep who qualify as migrant students, and 79% of those students are proficient in English language arts and 75% in math. Now looking at our students with disabilities, we are also very successful in moving those students along to proficiency standards. As you'll see, compared to the state and the district of Pajaro Valley, our scores are far exceeding the proficiency rates. This is largely a result of the strong multi-tier systems of support that include extended day and extended year. And those same supports also really serve our migrant population as well. Now, moving to our achievement gap. So we've made a lot of gains in closing the achievement gap, and this slide really indicates how our economically disadvantaged students are doing compared to those of our students who are not economically disadvantaged. And as you'll see, there's only a 5% gap at Navigator when we're looking at those students in their English language arts scores. Clearly, the gaps are much larger in California as a whole and in the district. that we're aiming to locate Watsonville Prep. Similar scores also indicate our success in math with this subgroup of economically disadvantaged. And it's also important to note that our economically disadvantaged students are outperforming the state's students who are not economically disadvantaged. Now, this is also a similar indicator of how we're closing the achievement gap by ethnicity. So this is comparing Latino students to white students, and the gap at Navigator and English Language Arts is 7%. It's a gap. We aim to close all these gaps, but it's a gap that we are closing. And when we compare again to the state and the district, we're significantly outperforming, or our gaps are much smaller, I should say. And again, noting that our Latino students are outperforming white students across the state on average. And when we're looking at our English language learners compared to English-only students, again, our students, our English learners are outperforming the state's students that are English only. And this is the area where we have our biggest gap, but we are closing that gap. So with all that, just want to say, again, thank you to the staff for your diligent review of our charter. We are really excited with your support to be able to provide services to the students in Watsonville and Pajaro Valley, and we accept all the conditions of the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you step down, any clarifying questions right now? We'll have an opportunity to call you back up, Kevin, with you and your team if needed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know you may not have this number in front of you, but looking at the dashboard, your numbers for English learners and socioeconomically disadvantaged students are similar to the district, but I was impressed by your special ed scores. So I was wondering if you had a breakdown of disability category of your students and how that compares to the district. So I don't know if you can come back with that information.
Well, I could ask our Director of Student Services to share that information. She'd probably be able to recite that. Would you like her to come up and respond to that now?
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Sharon Waller, our Director of Student Services and one of our founders and a graduate of Watsonville High School, fill in time as she makes her way to the podium.
I wasn't expecting this early on in the course, so I'm glad you're asking. We are representing Navigator Schools. We have 74 students with disabilities out of, so we're around 7% of our student population identified as having a disability. And out of that is around 10% of our students with autism, 12 or 13% with specific learning disabilities, 15 to 20 with speech and language impairments. We have students with emotional disturbance, intellectual disability. We have a student who's blind, 3 students that are hard of hearing. So we feel like we're representing 9 out of the 14 broad categories of students with disabilities we have at Navigator. And again, when we go out and start our schools, it's with this knowledge to parents. We want your children. We design the school to be a school that's open for students with disabilities. We have really great instructional practices that we learn through special education, if anybody's a special ed background person. So, does that help?
I have a question regarding English language learners redesignation. Is that you or is that another person?
Yes, we're very proud of our success rates in redesignating our English language learners. And once you ask the question, I'll know if I should call somebody else.
How many EL learners do you have, and what's the percentage of ones that become redesignated, and how long does it take to become redesignated typically?
So I'm going to ask James Dent. I'm going to ask James Dent. James is our Chief Academic Officer and one of our founders. Can you answer that question?
Hello, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have, when we started our schools, both of the schools had over 70% English learner populations. Over the course of the time, we have been able to redesignate over 80% of those students. We do have quite a few kids in our Gilroy campus that come in at 6th grade, and a lot of those students are long-term ELs, which we are obviously working very hard to close that as well. Last year, we tested 189 students that we've redesignated that are currently in grades 4 through 8 at the 2 sites.
Any other clarifying questions, commissioners? Okay, if not, then we'll move to the presentation from the district and the county, however you'd like to choreograph that. Are both wanting to speak today? Okay.
I understand it's under the 10 minutes, yes.
Yeah. So combined, I don't know if you guys have spoken, but
Yeah.
and we've got some flexibility this morning with that, but yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Bauer and fellow commissioners. So I am Michelle Rodriguez. I'm the proud superintendent of Pajaro Valley Unified School District. I've been there for just over 2 years now, and I have come here along with the presidents and leadership of both the Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers and also the California Employees Association to request that you honor our denial of Watsonville Prep charter school. So on March 28th, we did receive the petition from Navigator Schools, and as you have heard, they are requesting to serve 180 of our students. I think notably at the public hearing, what you would have heard if you saw the recording was that the petition did receive strong criticism from not only public but also the local community and educators, expressing concern over the petitioner's ability to provide an educational program that's not already provided within our district, the focus of efforts being placed outside of our school district, and the use of staffing without representation rights. Moreover, the district staff did identify a number of significant deficiencies that we feel still remain within the petition. And it is including to the deficiencies that we feel we have found in the proposed educational program and their plans for educating English language learners, students with special needs, migrant students, and foster students. Also, their omission of the operating budget and the financial projections, which were also found by the CDE staff. So based on our comprehensive review, we did deny it on 4 grounds. I specifically want to talk about the proven track record of success that they have spoken to frequently and data that is appearing before you. So we feel that they have failed to acknowledge the communities in which we serve in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. One, in Pajaro Valley, we are a group of 5 cities. So we do not just remain within the city limits, but we actually include 5 different cities. And so we feel that it is unequitable to have the students only be able to be from the Watsonville area. We also feel that the petition relies heavily on data and information gleaned from their current locations, and that it fails to look specifically at the current and relevant information of our student population. So if you look at the English learners, the migrant students, the foster youth, and the transportation demands, we feel that there's a lack of understanding of our unique population. And we also feel that the program doesn't reflect the racial, ethnic, and social economic diversity that actually exists within our district. The Civil Rights 2014 project found that California is the most segregated state for Latino students. And the report found that poverty for California children has increased markedly in the last generation, particularly for Latino and African American students, that they often attend the same disadvantaged schools together, resulting in double segregation, or in some cases, triple segregation by race, income, and language. And we believe that Watsonville Prep will actually perpetuate and increase this trend. So as you see as the data that you have there that's currently up on the screen, the students that attend Gilroy Prep are not the high percentage of English learners in which we have at Minty White and Radcliffe Elementary, in which they often compare themselves to. You will note that when they first, if you look at the top, so you look at their overall increase, and then you look below at the percentages for Gilroy Prep, what you'll notice is that they started in 13-14 with 57% of their students being English learners. By the time that last year hit, it was 37%. This is notable, the fact that they are continuing to have a decrease in the number of English learners that is there. And we believe that it is because they are not accessing, or there is no access to the most vulnerable students that is necessary. You look at the trends within PVUSD, whether it be Minty White or Radcliffe, and you will see that our trends have remained steady. So there is not a change in the demographic through the area. Then when we think, a lot of times they say, well, the reason why that we have this is because we actually reclassify our students quicker. Well, what you'll see is the most fragile students are not actually going to their schools. So if you look at it, anything that's purple means these are kindergartners. So this is not really due to instruction. This is how they come to us, unless they've had kindergarten, which is why Minty White went down, because we finally have preschool in Minty White now. But what you'll see is there's students that come to them, and the purple is in 16-17 was 9%. Only 9% of their students came as English learners at the very beginning level, versus you look at Minty White, which did have a transition to 36% because we wound up having preschool services there. But then you have Radcliffe that is at 80%. And then when you add in both the beginning and the intermediate, you'll see the reason why it's much easier to classify students quickly is because they're already coming to them at a much higher level. So if you have a kindergartner that's already coming to you at an intermediate or early advanced level, well then of course you're able to translate that much quicker. I think our point is that the students need a different instructional program according to their needs. So you cannot simply translate a program which currently serves students that for the grand majority are coming to them at intermediate or early advanced and think that you can translate that exact program into our program. So lastly, I would just like to note that the significant gains that PVUSD has made with an unduplicated count of 81.1%, with 68% English learners, 14% special education, 78% students of poverty, 15% homeless, and 11% migrant education. Within the last year, we have been able to make double-digit growth on SBAC and an increase on our national percentile ranking in both mathematics and reading on measures of academic progress, MAP assessment, which is taken by over 10.2 million peers nationwide. For these reasons, we request that you honor the decisions of both governing bodies of PVUSD Board and also the Santa Cruz County Board of Trustees and continue to deny the petition. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Chair Bowers, Commissioners. My name is Faris Sabah. I'm with the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. I'm the Deputy Superintendent there. Can I know how much time I have left, just to make sure I'm okay? Oh, great. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Santa Cruz County Office of Education, the Santa Cruz Superintendent of Schools, and our County Board of Education. We received, the County Board of Education received an appeal for the establishment of Watsonville Prep Charter on June 21st, 2018. A public hearing was held on July 19th, and a review team of over 15 educators in consultation with legal counsel reviewed the petition and its accompanying documents, the staff reports, petitioner responses, and additional documents that were requested. In the review, special attention was paid to the facilities challenges of the district. The review team identified 4 areas of concern and recommended conditional approval of the charter petition in conjunction with a memorandum of understanding that addressed identified areas. The review team identified 4 concerns. One, that there was a need for a direct local parent involvement in governance. 2, that there was a need to have a plan for transitional kindergarten. 3, that there was a need to revise the redesignation criteria to include younger students. 4, there was a need to establish a facilities plan developed in conjunction with the school district. And as part of its recommendation for conditional approval, the staff created a memorandum of understanding that addressed these 4 areas. On August 16th, the county board decided on a 4-3 vote to deny the appeal on the grounds that the petition does not contain reasonably comprehensive descriptions of the required elements set forth in 47605B5. In the resolution, the county board members took their findings of fact of the 4 areas identified by the review team. And that concludes my report of the involvement of the County Board of Education.
Super. We've got time now for any clarifying questions to the superintendent of the district as well as the rep from the county. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. The superintendent of the district. So your charts were a little small for me to read, so I
Okay.
just want to clarify. Was basically the point in the argument that you were making is that more ELs that have more English language acquisitions tend to enroll in the charter schools in Hollister and Gilroy than students who enroll in your district? They tend to have less English acquisition. Was that your point?
My point was that the instructional program has to correspond with the needs of the students. And I believe that the needs of the students change as their language needs change.
Okay, but you were referencing data.
Right.
And so I was just a little
Yeah.
unclear
So-
as to what that was trying to.
What I was trying to point out is that if the two schools that they have been specifically speaking to, if they take those students and just take a combination of those students will not be similar to their current students.
And why would they not be similar?
They wouldn't be similar because they have different language level needs.
Which is typically, when your argument is that it's typically lower.
Typically, only 20% of the students that would come to them would not be beginning. So that means that there would have to be significant changes to the instructional program to address that.
So say that last sentence one more time. 20% of the students that come to them
Would
not be
not be beginning. All the rest would be beginning.
And then what is the typical percentage in Pajaro Valley that are beginning?
We're very similar to that, especially in Watsonville. So in Watsonville, or PVUSD, we do have a sector, which is our Aptos community, which is the 3 of our elementary schools that do not have that type of ratio. The rest of our school district is very homogeneous.
So you're saying you'll see in your community or in your school districts about the same percentage, 20% are considered beginning.
No, 80% are
80, so
considered.
it's inverted. Okay,
Yes.
and you're saying that theirs is 20.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying that.
You see why I got confused?
Yeah. So there, if I can just put it up real quick. I know it's hard to see, but okay. So what I am saying is that, let me get the slideshow for you. I'm a Mac user, sorry. All right, there you go. Okay, so what I am saying is, is that when you look at our schools, you're going to find that the majority of the students coming in, 80% of them are beginning level. If you look at their trends at Gilroy Prep, it's been 13 and 9, and it was 8% prior year. My point is that the most fragile students, I don't know Gilroy well. I don't know the community well because I'm in mine, but I would assume that they do have more students that are more fragile that do not attend, but in their case, they only have 9%.
While you're up, excuse me, and maybe the county can also reply to this. How many authorized independent charter schools exist in Pajaro?
We have 2 independent and 4 dependent.
Okay.
We have a total of 6.
Thank you. And with the county?
Beyond that, I believe we have, in addition to those, I believe we have 3 independent charter schools, and I'd have to look at the number.
How many are authorized by the county? Any?
At this point, there are 2 charters that are authorized by the county.
Okay, thanks. Any other clarifying questions, commissioners? We can continue to dive.
I have one more for
Yeah,
the
sure.
county. Ferris, hi. The county staff made one of the recommendations was to include a redesignation plan for EL students at a younger age. Could you elaborate on that for me?
Yes, in the documents that we received, the redesignation criteria started at 4th grade. When we requested that it was clear that the redesignation criteria applied to younger grade students starting at kindergarten. Our understanding from our work with the petitioners was that they did redesignate students. They just hadn't established that in the petition.
Okay, thank you.
Could you, before you step away, just as a reminder, I've read this too. The staff recommendation to the county board was
Conditional approval,
Conditional approval.
memorandum of understanding.
And I know it's difficult to talk about board deliberations, and I won't get into that. I saw the vote was 4-3.
That's correct.
But the staff recommendation was to approve the school.
Conditional approval with a memorandum of understanding.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, any other clarifying questions right now? Okay, we're going to move then into the space that we have in this meeting for public comment. And we've got a number of individuals who've signed up to speak. Jonathan's going to call out the first 5 or 6 names. If you could line up at the lectern so that we can move through this process as seamlessly as possible. So go ahead, Jonathan, with that, and I'll go over some ground rules.
Please
Thank
line
you.
up James Dent, Erica Rodriguez, Martha Denny, Gabby Roldan, Melissa Alatorre.
Great. So if you'd like to speak individually, you may. You have up to 1 minute to speak. If you'd like to combine your time with anyone else, you can come up together in groups of 2, 3, or 4 and speak, if you will, for that combined amount of time. We've got time, though, to hear from each and every person in the audience. I understand that translators are available as well for those who need it. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, when you address the commission, please state your full name and the organization that you represent, if you do. Thanks a lot.
All right, good morning. I'm James Dent, co-founder and chief academic officer of Navigator Schools. In 2004, I began my leadership career as an assistant principal at Ann Sullivan Elementary School in Watsonville. The school was and had been the lowest performing elementary school in the district, with only 6% of the students proficient at the time in ELA. The team sprang into action, and we restructured the entire school. 3 years later, ELA had jumped 20% and math over 30. Our API gained 161 points. The key to our success was an incredible team willing to think innovatively and try something new. The origins of the Navigator model were born. And the lesson of teamwork is stronger today than ever before. Navigator actively teams with districts, charters, and universities. We turn away no partner who wants to tour our schools or work with us to find better ways to educate our state's students. We learn together. Navigator lives the spirit of the charter law, as we believe that we are all a team, districts and charters together, striving to help every student excel. We look forward to working collaboratively with PVUSD, Pajaro Valley.
Thank you.
Good morning. It was the secret of heavens and earth that I decided to learn by Mary Shelley. And it's my desire of a better education in my community that I'm here for. My name is Martha Denny. I arrived in the United States at age 15 with no knowledge of English language, no by choice. I have worked tremendously hard to provide, prosper, and embrace the American dream. And I'm a proud owner of an accounting firm. I'm just a supporter to the school. I'm here because I believe it's imperative that you understand the need of this school in our community. The constant overall low academic in our school district is alarming. 8 out of 10 Hispanic students from grade 3rd to 8 are not proficient. Don't let the words of Pajaro Valley School District representatives sugarcoat the truth. When you break down the zip code, schools, ethnicity, you will notice the segregation our students are subjected to. Please use any available resources to help you make an educated decision and help us approve Navigator School.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Gabriella Roldan. I'm a middle school teacher and vice principal in training at Hollister Prep School, and I'm here today asking for your support for Watsonville Prep School. I'm a first-generation Mexican-American English learner from a single-parent household, and I'm my family's first and only college graduate. The last statement is why I'm standing before you here today. I have 2 very bright siblings whose educational experiences in traditional school settings left them feeling inadequate to attend college. Unfortunately, my siblings became part of the statistic that we are trying to change. Most of the students I work with share my familial background, and yet their educational trajectory doesn't seem to align with those of my siblings. Our students are being shown that college is their future. So what is the difference between my siblings' experiences and those of my students? Navigator Schools. These young lives and their hard work have been given a platform at Navigator. Please support Navigator's petition and allow this to be the experience for the children of Watsonville. Thank you.
Good morning. Melissa Alatorre Olness, Director of Human Resources with Navigator Schools.
There are so many aspects of my role as HR director that I love, but I have to say, seeing the enthusiasm Navigator staff members have for being a part of the founding team at Watsonville Prep School has risen to the top of the list. The signatures you received as part of the charter petition are just a fraction of the educators who have shared their desire to work with their education colleagues throughout the Pajaro Valley. Their Navi history combined with the outside interest we've received will combine for an incredible experience for the students of WPS. I truly cannot wait for the first day of Navi 101 next year, when we can hopefully welcome the inaugural WPS team to the Navigator family. Thank you for your time and hopefully your support.
Thank you. Could we call up the next 5 or 6?
Alba Rivas, Alexandria Heredia, Crystal Toriumi, Vanessa Castaneda, Leah Martinez.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Erika Rodriguez. I have 3 kids. I have always known I wanted to have a choice in where I want to send my child to school. I want what's best for my child because every child is different. I didn't know what that choice would be until I heard about Navigator. I have seen the difference made already in the reading groups. I have seen the way these teachers work with kids, and I have seen my child respond. Please support Watsonville Prep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Heredia. I'm a paraprofessional at Navigator Schools. I have been lucky to be a part of the Readiness Fun Club in Watsonville every Monday. Seeing these students excited about learning makes my night, and getting to know their parents is just a special bonus. My ties to Watsonville and my role as a Navigator special education paraprofessional currently focused on getting my special education resource credential have made me very committed to opening WPS. Every day I see the impact our full inclusion model has on students who might otherwise be in self-contained classroom. I see students working in small groups, no child feeling as if they don't belong. The equity point on our compass is why I work every day, and why I truly believe that students of Watsonville deserve this public school option. I'm asking you for these students and for Watsonville as a whole to please approve WPS. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Crystal O'Rourke Toriumi, and I'm the principal of Gilroy Prep School. I have the honor of speaking to you as both a founding Navigator employee and as a K-12 graduate of Watsonville Public Schools. My family, friends, and heart reside in Watsonville, and I am both thanking staff for the recommendation of approval and asking you to support the petition for Watsonville Prep. Ever since my first day at Navigator, I've dreamt of taking what I've learned to positively impact the community, which means so much to me. And I believe a Navigator education is a key component of that change. What really attracted me to Gilroy Prep when I was a district employee was the collaborative nature present amongst all staff members. From day one, the goal was to learn together and collaborate with other districts. It was such a joy when 5 principals and several teachers from Pajaro Valley Unified came last year to tour and collaborate with our educators. We look forward to continuing to work with educators across the state of California for the benefit of all students. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. There we go. My name is Vanessa Castaneda. I'm a teacher at Gilroy Prep School, and I'm a first-generation college graduate. I know firsthand the ability education has to transform individuals, families, communities, and society for the better. I can say without a question, Navigator Schools is a foundation I had growing up. I wish I had growing up. School was difficult for me, not because I wasn't smart enough, but because people didn't believe in my abilities. I knew that the only way to really succeed was by trying hard, so my parents knew that immigrating to the US was not in vain and we could attain the American dream. Students face many obstacles every day, academic, financial, social, emotional, but at Navigator Schools, every child is equipped to prosper regardless of their circumstances. I aspire to be a founding teacher at WPS because I want to make sure students are able to close the achievement gap just like I was. Please vote to approve Watsonville Prep. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Leah Martinez. I'm a middle school teacher and vice principal in training. As a Watsonville native and one of the teacher signatories on the petition before you, I stand here today asking you to approve WPS for the community I hold so very dear. I came to Navigator 3 years ago because I was drawn to the mission and because I saw the difference the schools were having on the students we serve. I signed the petition, and I'm here today because I want to see the same impact on my own hometown. Every teacher I know wants what's best for our students. We all work so hard to provide our students with the best education. And at Navigator, we want to be able to work with teachers throughout the Pajaro Valley. We want to share best practices to help all students succeed. I love having educators tour my classroom, provide feedback for me, and taking pieces of knowledge or tools with them when they go. I truly look forward to seeing PVUSD educators on campus next fall. Please support Navigator and WPS. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Mi nombre es Alba Rivas y estoy aquí representando toda la comunidad de Watsonville para que abra la escuela Watsonville Prep School. Creemos es la mejor educación para nuestros hijos. Es lo mejor comenzar con esta educación temprana en sus vidas para que puedan llegar a lograr sus metas y llegar a la universidad. Hemos luchado duro y mucho tiempo. Por favor, ayúdenos a lograr mi sueño y el de nuestros hijos, que podamos abrir Navigator para el próximo año escolar. Gracias.
Good morning. My name is Alba Rivas. I am representing all of the community of Watsonville. We believe in the best education for our kids. It is best we start with this education early for their lives so that they can one day attend a university. We have been supporting a long time and we have been working long and hard. Please help us achieve our dream. Navigator is what we want for our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luisa Hernandez, Roberto Hernandez, Roberto Sanchez, Kirsten Carr, Sharon Waller, Francisco Rodi.
Thank you. Did everyone hear? I only see a few folks coming up.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Roberto Hernández. Tengo una niña de 5 años, vivimos en Watsonville. Mi esposa ha visitado las escuelas Navigator, Gilroy y Hallister. Por mi parte nos gustaría que se abriera una escuela Navigator en Watsonville. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Roberto. I have a 6-year-old daughter and we live in Watsonville. My wife has visited the Navigator schools in Gilroy and in Hollister. For my part and for my wife, we would like to have the Navigator school in Watsonville.
Thank you.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Voy a contar un poco de mi historia y por qué estoy aquí. Mi nombre es María Luisa Hernández. Soy una madre inmigrante. Tengo una hija de 4 años. Llevo 2 años y medio estudiando desarrollo de la niñez en el colegio de mi comunidad. Se llama Cabrillo. Haciendo esto, me pude dar cuenta que es urgente, justo y necesario una educación de calidad para nuestros niños de Watsonville. Educación como la que brinda el Colegio Cabrillo en Aptos, California, a través de sus centros para la niñez. O como la que brinda Hollister Prep y Gilroy Prep, en donde los niños se sientan motivados, con sed de aprendizaje, y donde los maestros saben cuál es su misión dentro del aula. Yo ya he hablado mucho a través de este año de lucha y he dicho de muchas formas por qué necesitamos Watsonville Prep, pero lamentablemente la gente política encargada de la educación en Watsonville y en Santa Cruz han cerrado sus oídos a nuestra voz de padres para obedecer a sus reyes.
Hello. I will start by telling you a little story about myself and why I'm here. My name is Maria Luisa Hernandez. I am a migrant mother. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I have been 2.5 years studying at Cabrillo College for the development of childhood. In doing so, I was able to realize that an education of quality for children of Watsonville, education like the one offered by Cabrillo School in Aptos, California, through the Centers for Children, or like the one provided by Hollister Prep in Gilroy, where children feel motivated with a thirst of learning and where teachers know what their mission is in the classroom. I have already talked a lot through this year of struggle, and I have said in many ways, because we need Watsonville Prep. But unfortunately, the political people in charge of education in Watsonville and Santa Cruz have closed their ears to our voice.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Kirsten Francis Carr, and I'm the Director of Engagement and Partnerships at Navigator Schools. For the past few days, I've been mentally playing with exactly how to relay to you why the preference for the city limits of Watsonville was and is so important to us. And during that time, somewhat fortuitously, I might add, I have repeatedly heard the YMCA commercial that starts with, "Your zip code shouldn't determine your future." That right there is why. The children who live in Watsonville have had their zip code determining their future for years. And now we want to help change that trajectory. We strive to locate our schools in areas where the free and reduced lunch population is at least 80%. The schools within the city limits of Watsonville have FRL numbers of 90% and higher, often reflecting the most traditionally underserved students. We want to ensure these students have the opportunity to succeed regardless of their circumstances. Please support WPS to support the students of Watsonville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, commissioners, and thank you for your dedicated service to children of California. As a proud third-generation graduate of Watsonville High School and Navigator Schools co-founder, I'm current Director of Student Services, I want to thank the CDE for the recommendation to approve Watsonville Prep School, and I'm urging you to do the vote positively for us. 3 out of the 6 founders of Navigator were special educators. We founded the school out of a deep belief that our education system can and must be changed because leaving behind subgroups of students is a violation of civil rights. We set out to prove that the achievement gap can and must be eliminated with proven instructional practices, and we also believe that inclusion was the way to go for students with disabilities. I've lived in this area for 45 years, worked in PVUSD, Gilroy Unified, and Aroma San Juan schools, and for decades I've watched our neediest students miss out on opportunities that an exemplary education could have provided them. We can and must change this for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Francisco Rodriguez. I'm president with the Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers. We represent certificated staff at the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. I am also a resident of Watsonville, and I am a parent of a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I have a number of concerns, but I will put down 2 that are very important to me. The first is that the petition fails to include reasonable comprehensive description of the education program because it fails to adequately describe its plan for specific subgroups of students. You heard earlier today our interpretation of the scores from Gilroy and Hollister with English language learners. We also have concerns with migrant students and special education students. My training is as a special education teacher. I am a former migrant student and also a former English language learner. My second point is with meaningful parent involvement in the governance of the school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Heriberto, vengo de la comunidad de Watsonville. Estoy aquí para apoyar y pedirles que la escuela se pueda abrir y nos puedan apoyar. Hablo por todos los padres que hoy no están presentes con nosotros, ya sea porque tuvieron que trabajar. Necesitamos mejores escuelas en Watsonville para nuestros hijos. Tengo una niña de 6 años y quiero la mejor educación para ella. Quiero una escuela Navigator. Gracias.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heriberto. I am here representing all of the Watsonville community to open up Watsonville Prep School. And I am talking on behalf of all of the parents who had to work today. We need a better school in Watsonville for our kids. I have a 6-year-old daughter and I want the best education for her. I want Navigator schools. Thank you.
Dolores Duran Flores, Leticia Oropea, Kathy Bennett, Esther Murillo.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm Dolores Duran Flores with the California School Employees Association. We are here in opposition to the Watsonville Prep Charter position and urge you to reject their appeal. The Watson Prep Charter has already been rejected twice, once by the Pajaro Unified School District and again by the Santa Cruz Board of Education. Regardless of the vote, it was rejected. They found that the definition did not meet the required elements of the charter petition as required by law. These are local education entities that are familiar with the local student population and the most vulnerable students in our local community. We urge you to listen to them, to trust their expertise, and to respect their local control. CSEA represents classified employees who provide student services, including services to special needs children. We are deeply concerned about Watson Prep's petition, how it neglects to adequately serve special ed, English language learners, migrant and foster children. Your report even indicates the petition did not address the measurable pupil outcome requirement. Based on this fact alone, they failed to meet the requirements. Oh, I'm already out of time. Can I just quickly say we also have issues about transportation and how these students are going to be taken care of to ensure that they're not actually only allowing students whose parents can afford to take them back and forth to school every day. We also want to make an issue. I mean, our side didn't really get a whole lot of time, so I'm hoping that you give me a little bit of
Well,
time.
you each have a minute to sign up, so if you've got other people that signed up that you'd like to pull time with, that's the public comment section.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The petition also stated that all assets of Watsonville Prep Charter will remain the sole property of Navigator Schools upon the dissolution of that nonprofit. Does this mean that items purchased with public dollars will go to Navigation Schools if they go bankrupt or if they fold up? Does this include all desks, office equipment, furniture, computers? What about property and facilities? Why would these assets go to Navigator instead of reverting back to the public schools that actually purchased them with public dollars? To CSEA, this is unacceptable and must be rejected. Secondly, we're also concerned about there's no prohibitions against conflict of interest for the boards and CEO members that restrict their ability to personally enrich themselves both in public monies and facilities. This is irresponsible and we don't think should be allowed. Watsonville Prep did not outline their facility plans. The current school district already has facility needs, and we should take care of our existing students before giving facilities to charter schools. We also oppose any efforts to co-locate this charter in existing school sites. For all these reasons, we ask for this to be opposed and rejected. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for allowing us this time. My name is Leticia Oropea. I am a former parent of 2 children of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District who attended kindergarten through 12th grade, graduated, went on to college, and now they have children. And we don't see any other program that would give them every opportunity that they need other than the public schools. We would never think of having my 4 grandchildren attend a charter school. Being an employee of the school district, I have also seen charter schools and have seen what happens to the students they don't deem qualified for their school. They're rejected, they end up coming back to our school district. I work in student services, so I do see many of those students coming back. Also, please keep in mind that special education students need to receive the services that they need and will probably be let go from these charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Esther Murillo. I'm a community member of Watsonville. also an aunt and a grandmother to students that attend PVUSD. Equal access to all students is vitally important, especially the migrant families, the foster children that are growing in numbers, and also the special ed. We need equal access for any district to provide secure and all resources available to these families. Transportation is also vitally important. As noted, Watsonville has 4 cities. If transportation is limited, then not everyone has equal access. Okay, when trying to gather facts about Watsonville Prep, it became extremely difficult. Information was not given. If in order to be able to even apply, you would have to sign a contract that you were interested and wanted to apply. So transparency for a community member wanting to get resources as to what it takes it was not granted. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
Romel Antoine, Eric Premack, Tristan Brown. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, liaisons, staff. Romel Antoine for the Charter Schools Association. Navigator Schools serves almost 1,000 students over their 2 existing sites and have done the work to understand what sound replication looks like. Navigator has an incredible amount of community support, many of whom were able to show up today. These families are ready for Watsonville Prep. Something that is worth mentioning, and Kirsten mentioned this earlier, but is that because they want to specifically serve underperforming students, they have included an admission preference into their petition for students specifically in the boundaries of Watsonville, where most of the underserved families live, and that's worth mentioning. One last thing is that no matter where folks stand on charter issues or charter schools, what the association believes is that students should come first, no matter what. I just heard someone in the room say that, who's opposing the school, say that they would oppose the school co-locating on any other campus approved, even though it's a completely legal option. Put simply, there are people in this room who would rather have students have no space than space to learn, than to share space. We urge support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Premack, Charter Schools Development Center. We've had the Navigator Schools as members of our organization for many years, and we've been very impressed with their track record. If you take a look at their dashboard, you'll see pretty much entirely green and blue, with a very challenging population that overrepresents the disadvantaged students in the communities that they serve. So we've been very proud with that. We've also known their CEO, Kevin Sved, for over 25 years. He, many years ago, co-founded the very successful Accelerated Charter Schools down in South Central LA. He's had a number of other very successful gigs since then, and he's doing great work at Navigator, and I think you can count on having a very strong partnership with him and his staff there as well. So for those and other reasons, we urge support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Tristan Brown with the California Federation of Teachers. Would like to iterate some of the information that you've heard from the district and the county. There's no doubt about the passion of what's going on to help educate students in the area, but we find that given the issues that are brought up both by the district and the county, that the only reasonable option here is to see this petition as being premature. We respect the work that they're attempting to do, but there are many deficiencies that go beyond even what is found that are lacking in the petition itself. To kind of respond to the issue about co-location, it's not like we're trying to figure out which car are we going to buy and one is better than the other. This is not a zero-sum game. The children that are being represented by the district right now, they're a part of a plan. They're a part of a long-term plan by folks that are elected by their community. They're accountable to their community, and they're attempting to do what they can for those students, and I think they will achieve. So it is not a question of whether or not there will be no space or some space. The problems that the district faces are only exacerbated if we allow for a new charter to pop up that might not be completely ready to turn, it's not completely turnkey for August. And so, you know, it's not about someone that can't find a seat. They're already so condensed in their space that this is going to be a significant problem for the outcomes of those students. And so when we ask what's best for those students, they will not have a proper learning environment if we allow this to continue currently. So we ask that you do reject that appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Good morning.
I'm going to try in this 1 minute to make two statements, because one is a parent who couldn't come here, and then I would like to speak to, but if I can only read her statement, that's fine. So this is on behalf of Sarah Henney. She is both a parent of a student in the district and also an 18-year veteran teacher in the district. So she's representing Pajaro Valley Unified School District and also PBFT because she is a union member. So as a parent, a PBSD student who receives a range of special education services, I agree with both the PBUSD and Santa Cruz County Office findings that the plan for special education sent forth in Navigator's proposal for Watsonville Prep is inadequate and unlikely to serve the range of needs, including all 13 categories of disabilities that our district currently provides. Furthermore, given the lack of detail, it is questionable that their current budget and proposed personnel could cover the necessary special education assessments and services that are needed. What will inevitably result from inadequate special education services and the budget to cover them is an exclusion of families like mine. That is unacceptable. Please do not move this charter petition appeal to the next step.
Time.
Thank you. That's all the time that we've got.
All right.
Thank
Pero
you.
también quiero decir que yo soy maestra bilingüe en el distrito escolar y yo enseño clases del desarrollo de inglés para estudiantes que han recién llegado a los Estados Unidos. Yo tengo
Thank you.
el propio credencial. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more public comment?
That's all.
Okay, very good. So commissioners, we're going to close the public hearing on this item and begin deliberations, which can include questions to CDE staff, as well as the petitioner and district or county staff who are here. Who'd like to start? And if not, we can, yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your work and the presentations and taking the time to be here, and in particular to those families, the gentleman that spoke on behalf of many families that are working and cannot be here to advocate for quality education for their children. So thank you for that effort. I appreciate Commissioner asking the questions about the data. I couldn't quite see it either, so I'm still incredibly confused by whether or not the same students are coming or not coming. I don't know about proficiency levels for kinder-age children. Like, how does one talk about a kindergartner being early advanced? I don't want to make assumptions about migrant children that they're not advanced in some kind of way. So if I don't even have a clear, maybe it's just getting the petitioner to clarify what you think they're saying about your data, and explain that, because I didn't understand anything that they said about it. The second piece is that to the difficulty of registering for the school, I actually just got online and registered my I didn't go all the way through with it, but my fictitious daughter. And so I know that sometimes there are gaps around people's access to technology and things like that. So I think that would be an important thing to think about. But I tend to know that communities who live and love together and work together support one another. So if you don't have internet or you don't have a computer, there's a way in which people come together and do that. So it's actually relatively easy. There wasn't a contract that I needed to sign off on or anything in the process. It was actually pretty painless. So I think that we, again, kind of getting away from some of the talking points of making this a difficult situation. I also saw in the petition that there are ways in which that family members actually have the ability to be on the board. So if you could speak a little bit about, because I think that it is in schools that are, there's replication or they're in different sites. We have schools that are across the country, and so it is a problem for me when there isn't local representation by community members and families that sit on these boards, these nonprofit boards. So and even though they're not elected, I think that the representation needs to be really authentic in that way. So if you could speak to that, I'd really appreciate it. And then to the school district, I'd like to hear actually about the achievement gap, because I got some real clarity around the achievement gap and looking at what's happening to try to close that gap. with Navigator School. So again, if I'm doing some comparison to what's in the region and what's good, I'd like to know a little bit about the achievement gap. And there definitely was some insinuation that the zip codes is an important thing to kind of look at with, and I don't know the region well enough. So the zip codes of, is it Gilroy or like, I need to kind of understand again, maybe it's a socioeconomic demographic or racial demographics that will help me understand that a little bit better. That was quick. You got all that?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So we'll start first with the petitioner. And if I heard correctly, to provide some clarity on the reclassification? Yes. Yeah.
Hello again. What I'd like to start with is just to review our data of our students who are English language learners. We had 189 students. 182 of those students were classified at or exceeding standard last year in English language arts. So we are very dedicated to English language development, as well as making sure that when our students do reclassify, they are going to be successful, and we're showing that that is true. The two communities, and with all due respect to the district, because we believe 100% that we will be working collaboratively with the district in the future, they consistently speak to Gilroy's numbers, but do not talk at all about Hollister. And I want to start with Hollister, where we have a higher level of migrant students than Pajaro Valley, and we're proud of the performance of those students, and we'll continue to serve those students. Gilroy's a little bit of a different community. The entire district of Gilroy, which is over 10,000 students, only has 33 students tested last year in the migrant status, so it is not as much of a rural community as Hollister and Watsonville. What we have seen is that in Gilroy, many of the students who come to the kindergarten, and myself being a previous principal in a Gilroy Unified School District school, close to 90% of the low-income students go to preschool. They have an excellent Head Start program. They also have First 5 programs at 4 different campuses. So they cast a really wide net and really do a great job of getting kids prepared for kindergarten prior to kindergarten. And so I think Gilroy in itself is sending students to kindergarten typically at level 2 on the English level. So that's what I would say about that. Hollister, we have a higher level number of students that are lower on the English scale in the beginning. Is that good? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
So Commissioner Hodge, I think the second question was related to technology and enrollment processes. So one thing that we do to make it very easy for all of our families that may not have access to technology is provide technology at parent meetings, walking door to door with families. We have an iPad for enrollment processes. So and we go to the local Head Starts with our technology in hand. So we do make that easier. We also have office managers, office staff, and our parent engagement facilitator, all bilingual, to support our communities that we serve. Does that answer that question?
Yes, thank you very much.
And I think the third question, Commissioner Hodge, was related to the family members or parents having access to serve on our school boards, and absolutely that will be the same process as we currently have a parent rep from Gilroy Prep and from Hollister Prep. We'll have a parent eligible to also to serve on our board of directors from Watsonville as well.
A few questions, and I'll make a comment too on something that was said by one or more of the public speakers. But we heard from one of the speakers about the board. So while we're on that subject, could you go over for us and the public the conflicts of interest policies that you all have adopted that would prevent any kind of economic advantage for a board member? Any kind of conflict?
Absolutely. Well, first I'll say that we do not have any staff members on our board. So there are no teachers, none of the administrative staff are on the board. Next, I'm going to ask our attorney from YMC, Young Mini and Core, to go a little bit deeper on conflicts of interest. We do have a conflict of interest policy, and none of our board members do benefit in any way. I'll have our legal counsel share more details.
Thank you. I think it's important for us to hear, because there was an accusation made that board members have an opportunity to enrich themselves at this charter school. So I'd like to have that clarified.
Good morning. Yes, morning. My name is Janelle Rulli with the Offices of Young Median Corps. Navigator Schools does comply with the Political Reform Act, which all charter schools comply with. So all of the board members will fill out and file the Form 700 or Statement of Economic Interest. The Navigator Schools has a conflict of interest code that they file with the County Board of Supervisors, and Navigator also follows a conflict of interest policy. So yes, I heard a statement too that board members are enriching themselves. There's no evidence of that. There's no documentation of that. It doesn't happen in reality, and there are stops in place to make sure that nothing like that would happen.
Great, and maybe just, this is not meant as an editorial comment, but there was also a statement made about if the school were to close, where its assets would go. And I don't need to go into the details on that, but I would, and I know, I just want to clarify with the confirmation that the language in the charter petition speaks to what happens to school assets should there be a closure, among other issues, and that the language in the charter petition complies with what the law calls for. That's your understanding as well?
Yes, it does. I've reviewed it, and I find that it does. As a nonprofit public benefit corporation, the Attorney General's office actually has a say about how any assets that might be remaining are distributed, and so Navigator is in line with what the Attorney General requires.
Great. And then my last comment for right now is about special ed, because I heard in a public comment that all 15 disabilities won't be served at this school system. And as someone who's very steeped in special ed in both traditional district as well as charter school, let me state publicly that I know of very few, if any, single schools that serve all 15 disabilities. What happens in a school district with students with disabilities is those student populations are clustered, if you will, in certain schools where staff can be provided. And so to hear that within your system and to see within your report that you're going to be identifying and serving at least 9 of the 15 disabilities is commendable. And it's clear that there's fluency in this area and background with it, not just from your staff, but who presented, but the programs that you're offering, that you all are very steeped in what you do and are developing programs that are attractive to families who then apply to your school because they know that they'll be served. So thanks very much for that. And I see that there may be some questions or comments from other commissioners.
I think I heard this earlier, but I just wanted to clarify. I understand the preference a little bit more now about the Watsonville preference. But I believe the district said there was 5 cities that were represented in the district and only Watsonville. How many, I think I heard around 200 have signed up for next school year. How many, do you know how many of those families are from Watsonville?
I don't have the exact number in my head, but at this point we had over 200, and I'd say about 90% were from the city of Watsonville, lived within the city boundaries of Watsonville.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that I think was mentioned earlier was that the teachers in Navigator wouldn't have representation. My experience as a public school educator is that that representation is necessary to make sure that teachers get a voice, but there are other ways for that to happen. To me, right, what I'd like to know is how does that happen? And how do you see that happening in Navigator? The second question is really about, to me, evidence that that happens. And that, what I'm going to ask you about is what has been teacher turnover at your schools?
Okay, well, I appreciate the question, Commissioner. I want to just mention, before founding or co-founding the Accelerated School in South LA, I was a teacher, and so really do value teacher voice, as our administrators all started as teachers. So we believe we're still teachers, and we value the voice in many ways, and we show that we value the voice in many ways. One is just the direct relationships that our teachers have with the administrative teams. And I'd say 95% of challenges or issues that teachers have can be worked out through that type of effective communication. We also have a former teacher who's now our Director of Human Resources. And so when there are challenges that require additional support, we also provide it through those means as well. In relation to like having voice, one of the things that we do is we have meetings where teachers are very open and free to share their opinions and their voice, and it's heard. And you know, whether it's the school site council or our regular weekly staff meetings, there's always opportunities for teachers' voices to be heard, and they are definitely valued. And I'd say it's evidenced by the strong retention rates that we have for teachers. So over 85% of our teachers have returned consecutively the last few years at both campuses. Some of those percentage rates go as high as 95% when you look at a specific year, but overall our rates are over 85%. And that's actually one of our green lighting criteria for our board before they say that, yes, we approve you to put forth a charter petition in Watsonville. They wanted to make sure that our retention rates were very high. And so that's something that our board looks at very closely.
Talk to me about professional development.
Well, I'm going to ask our Chief Academic Officer to come up and talk a little bit more about that. While he's coming up, I'll say that we start the year with 10 days of professional development.
And to continue that, we do. Our new teachers and our new small group instructors, which would be considered classified staff in the district, receive 10 days of professional development. We call it NAVI 101. The second week, we bring the whole team back together and we have NAVI 201. So it's 10 days. We then spread out 5 additional days throughout the school year where we have full day release with our teachers, where we cover a variety of topics on those days, as well as every Wednesday is a short day. So our school ends around 1:30 and we have about another hour and a half to do data-driven instruction meetings. All of that being said, I don't think that's our best professional development. Our best professional development is our weekly coaching. And we have 4 coaches at each site, and they have caseloads of about 6 to 7 teachers or small group instructors, and are observing weekly and meeting weekly in very intimate, strong relationship building opportunities, which really has helped drive our teachers to become, and our small group instructors to become the incredible instructors they are in 6 months, a year, or 2 years of experience.
So just to address the question regarding the city limits, our school district not only encompasses 5 cities, but it also encompasses 2 counties. And so when you look at where the most impoverished students are, they actually aren't within the city limits of Watsonville. Where they are the most impoverished, and it's actually the most impoverished of the entire region, is Pajaro and it's Corralitos, which is 2 of the areas. There are, in addition, Freedom and Las Lomas, which are not included, which are also extremely high impoverished. So when I speak to inequities and no access, that's why I'm speaking to that, because actually in the heart of Watsonville is not where the highest level of poverty is, although there is high levels of poverty as well. So when it comes to our scores, I will say that we made extensive gains, and that's why you saw the last slide that you received. I will not say, if you look at our data dashboard, I will not say that we have great growth at this point or great performance at this point. What I will speak to is 2 things. One, we have been able to in one single year, we were able to raise literacy achievement of our first graders. It started at 3 schools, now it's expanded to 9 schools, to 94% of our students leaving first grade reading. And so we have been able to make a 20% growth on that. The reason why I gave you the MAP scores is if you look at the 16-17 and you look at the percentile ranking, according to 10 million national peers, you'll see that in 16-17, we weren't ranked very nationally high. We were in the 10th percentile, 24th percentile. But you look at where we got last year, and you will see that we jumped to the 68th percentile, the 72nd percentile. And so when you look at the data dashboard, If you would have looked at last year, it would have been red in academics. It now is yellow. Yellow is not great, but we skipped to yellow. We went from red to yellow because of the increases that we have made. And so we have work to do, but the point is that we're working simultaneously on our foundational and trying to support our secondary students at the same time. And we believe that we have excellent momentum. We just finished MAP scores just this week, and we are now in the 80s. I will, if needed, I will present that at the January board meeting, but that shows that yet again, we aren't resting, right? We went from sometimes the teens, 20s to the 60s, 70s, and now we are in the 80s, and we will continue to move forward.
Thank you.
Answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Just a little bit follow on this, because I realize this is, I mean, this is very much about politics in so many ways.
Actually, it's not for me.
Well, for me, it sounds like that because what, well, just I have a curiosity. When we talk about addressing inequities, right? So I'm hearing you say, like, this is not a school that's going to necessarily go to the place where there's perhaps the most need. You know your region, I don't know it. So, I mean, would it make a difference if the school was serving those communities? And I'm wondering whether or not, you know, even if the petitioner could talk to, like, how does one reach beyond this space of Watsonville? Like, how do you get to these other places that are outlying areas that are incredibly impoverished? Is there perhaps a plan for that? And I'm wondering whether or not, you know, in the scale of, you know, what matters is inequity and serving kids, would it make a difference if there was an opportunity to serve those children that were in those spaces?
Sure. So first, for me, it's totally not about politics. It's about controlling and being able to move my district forward. So I think I've shown that within the 2 years I've been superintendent there, we've made great gains. It's pretty hard to make 20% gains in literacy in 1 year, in a year and a half. And we have tests that show that we're making those gains. So it's not about that. It is about making sure that we can control how we support. If you, I'm sure you have looked at our petition, we transport thousands of students a day, of general education students from those very locations that I say. We are a rural district, so we have fields all around us. Our parents cannot get their students to our schools without that transportation. We do contribution of $7 million a year just in transportation of general education students. So for me, it is about equity and the fact that we're one district. We're a conglomerate, but we're one district. So it is about them knowing our students and our community well enough to recognize even that you say you want to do the most significantly hit students, and yet you don't mention Pajaro, which is actually in the county of Monterey, but is part of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District.
All right, you had mentioned 5 cities, and now I'm hearing 2 counties. I don't know your region very well. How many square miles is that? And a follow-up for the petitioners, I can't find where the proposed location is going to be. So just curious to know how big of a region are we talking about? Because I heard earlier there was concern over transportation issues and whether families can get there. So
if you go all the way up to the top where we go, which is Aptos, and you go all the way down to Pajaro, which is the midpoint, we are about 13 miles. So we're expansive. We have a broad reach. I'm sorry, you have one. Oh, and did you have a question on the number?
the Prop 39, did they Prop 39 you?
They did. We did an objection letter because we found some errors in their projections. So currently in elementary schools, we have over 20 teachers who we currently pay a roving stipend to, meaning they don't have their own classroom right now. And we've been providing that stipend now for a year and a half. So it's not a manufactured stipend or a manufactured problem, and that we have current teachers who are currently with us who do not have their own classroom. Many of them are specialists, so I will say that. Many of them are specialists because we have science specialists, and we also have PE and VAPA specialists that provide support to our students. So what they do is they rove within the classrooms, but that shows the lack of space in which we have. We do not have one elementary classroom currently available. We can't even expand to full day K because we do not have space for our own students to be able to receive full day kindergarten.
So just to clarify, there is no Prop 39 process
Did.
going forward.
No, they did. They did.
They did
submit,
Prop
We have
39.
already responded with our objection letter.
Okay, thank you.
You know, as a teacher, the thing that I try to focus on is what's best for students, and I know you do too. When I look at this petition versus your responsibilities, what I see is essentially two things. You know, there's this large area with all this diversity and so on, and then there's an attempt to do something in a small area. So one of the things that I always try to understand, and maybe you can help me understand this better in layman's language or so on, is how is this petition going to harm that larger group of students?
Well,
what they're saying is they have something that's going to help a certain group of students. I've seen in the past where that's really great. What you look at is one area, and these students are, you know, maybe cherry-picked as the best students, and they get more and so on, and everybody else gets less or whatever. I mean, I've seen conditions where there has been implicit bias and all sorts of things going on. I guess what I'm asking you to do is, from your heart, let me understand why you don't want this to go forward.
So when I was CAO in Santa Ana Unified, we used to have, or we still have, what's called fundamental schools. And they are very, very high achieving. They have received all types of awards, and yet most of the time they are similar types of students. And so there was always a question of, well, why can they do it when these other schools can't? And we saw extensive growth while I was there. But what the answer was you had parents who had either the social capital or you had the resources and the knowledge base to get their children there. And so it inherently took away resources from the students, and it made them, the students that were in there, in those schools, even more segregated, because the students whose students had parents had that social capital, they went to the fundamentals. And then what happened is the students that were remained within the other schools, right, a lot of time had that triple segregation that I was mentioning. And so you no longer had, when we look at schools and we know what's best, there's a reason why there is a concentration funds for LCAP at 55%. And that's because what we know is there's a tipping point of the percentage of students that is low socioeconomic and of unduplicated count that changes the dynamic and the culture of the school. Now, I'm in PVUSD because I'm committed to be an advocate for the students, and I love the fact that we have an 81% unduplicated count, because that's why I'm there, and that's why my whole career has been there, been in fragile student populations. But so what my concern is that in essence, it's not really going to help the very students that they need. And I truly believe that we will not have the control that we need. So almost on a weekly basis, I get concerns from our current charter schools and that are independent, and the parents beg me to help support them. And what I say is you have to go to your boards and complain, because I cannot help you. And so what I know is when they came and petitioned us in December and were taking pictures and clapping of our students doing the El Sistema program, that program is not a program that they will have access to, because that is within PVUSD. It's not within Navigator schools. And so I want our students to be able to get to the point where every single student can have access and we can ensure that they have a great education. And we're dedicated to do it, and we have the momentum that's currently happening.
Thank you.
Brian, this is
good.
This is Mark. Can I ask a question?
You sure can.
So, just to piggyback on what you were just saying, as the school district, I appreciate the sentiment that you've articulated. I guess my question is that if that's the ultimate goal, to piggyback on what Curtis was asking, if the ultimate goal is that you really do want to serve all kids, and these are also your kids, so we're not talking about a different subset of kids. They're all our kids. They're all your kids. They're all kids that you're trying to serve.
Mm-hmm.
What I hear, both at the county level and certainly at the state analysis, is that basically the program that's being proposed is a sound educational program, and that this will serve students well, including students who are not necessarily receiving the quality of services that they're not achieving as much as maybe they could, would, should. And so this Navigator is proposing to create a school that finds a niche that potentially meets a need that's not currently being met. And I guess I'm taking you at, I absolutely have every confidence to take you at your word for what you just said about sort of the what you hope to be able to do with students. It would seem like this charter school is actually helping you achieve what you just said you wanted to achieve. So what Curtis asked, I'm going to sort of repeat the question, but maybe in a slightly different way, which is, can you help me understand how this school does not achieve what you just said you wanted to achieve?
Because I don't believe it will serve all the students that we serve as a community. I believe that it will be a subsection of students whose parents have the social capital and the ability to not only know about the program, but also get them there. And when I look at, yes, we do have room to grow, but on the 9 schools, which we have done now the work with our foundational skills, we're at 94%. And that's with every single type of student, with having 14% of those students being special education students and 11% being migrant. So we are doing the work. And so, yes, it's not, we have to move forward, but it's the exact same thing that Navigator School is saying that they are going to be doing with us, we're doing already.
Okay, so again, if I accept that as at face value, which I do, and I will, my question is, you've obviously got a population of parents who are standing in the room there. I'm not there, but you've got a population of parents who are standing in the room who are saying that the needs are not being met, and that this proposed school would meet those needs. So could you help me understand, if I was one of those parents, what would you say to me if I'm telling you I don't believe that, if I'm telling you the same thing that this group of parents has just articulated in their 1-minute presentations? What is your response to me?
What I would say is most of those parents don't currently have students within our school district. So a lot of them said that they were 4 or 5 years old. So what I would encourage them to do is actually go visit our schools. I will say that the narrative out there is not always positive, right? We're trying to change that narrative through the work that we're doing. So there has been, I'm being transparent, there has been a track record of probably not as much success as we had wanted. So I would encourage them to actually go in the schools and see the work that our teachers and staff are doing, because they are doing high quality work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I know that there's one or two outstanding questions for the district, or not the district, excuse me, the petitioner around location. If you could address that as well. I want to confirm also that I've heard the discussion around cherry picking, and I've also heard, though, that Watsonville is one of the poorest areas in this, if you will, vicinity, and that the school is giving a preference for enrollment to students who reside in Watsonville, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great.
Yes.
On the issue of the facility and where you're going to be located, what are you able to update us on as of today? Not that this is a condition for approval. This body doesn't make recommendations based on where you think you're going or where you're going. It's not something that we have to deliberate on, but I think for clarification, it might be helpful given the question.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Bauer. We have submitted our Prop 39 request to the school district, and we are looking forward to their offer of facilities that we expect by February 1st. There's a little back and forth on what that enrollment number is that we had to justify in the application. So I'm hoping to meet with Superintendent Rodriguez to find common ground on the number. What we requested in our Prop 39 application was to be located within the city boundaries of Watsonville. And there's many schools to choose from, whether it's elementary or middle. I would point out that on the facility master plan that's on the website of the school district, it showed the latest one, I think it was 2012 or 2013, it shows a lot of capacity at a number of the schools within Watsonville. So we're hoping to be good partners, and we have begun to look for longer term facilities, because over the long term, we know that as our enrollment grows, yes, we're projecting 180 for year one, but by the time we're fully grown out, K through 8, assuming we get reapproved in 5 years, that we would grow to up to 540 students, and then that would have an impact. So we have begun to look for other solutions for our long-term facility plan so that we don't negatively impact the district.
Great. Okay. Commissioners, we've entertained questions on this. I want to voice my support for this petition and my intention to vote for it. In addition to the reasons that have been articulated today in the petition, the CDE staff review, I want to note also publicly that although the county voted it down, the staff recommendation was to approve it, and not that that's something that moves me, but it's significant in my review on it, and then the presentation that we've heard today more than satisfies my belief in this organization and their track record and their commitment to serving underrepresented students in the area. And there's clearly a demand for this within the community, as evidenced by the speakers who were here representing families who couldn't be here as well. So I'll close with that, and if there's any other comments that wish to be made, but I'd like to move the item forward with a recommendation, and we can have a second if there is one, and then discussion questions can ensue before the vote if necessary. So that's a motion.
So Brian, this is
Yep.
Brian. Oh, so Brian, this is Mark. I was going to move staff's recommendation, or I'll second your motion.
Okay, so that doesn't mean that we're voting right now if there are questions or comments that commissioners want to make, but I want to at least put it out there. Thank you. Any?
Again, I'm still stuck on this, notion of harm or access. So again, I'm wondering, is it possible for families that are on the outskirts, that are in the more rural areas, is it possible for them to get there? And again, you probably don't have school buses. So what might be the barrier, and what might you do to connect with that community of children?
I'm happy to address that. So first off, I do want to state that what we put in our enrollment preferences is residents within the city boundaries of Watsonville, very high poverty, low-income area. And then the next preference is within the boundaries of Pajaro Valley Unified. So there's still definitely an opportunity for students that don't reside within the city to be eligible. Now, the Pajaro is very close to Watsonville, and we do a lot of outreach there as well. Again, the Head Start programs, we did one of our reading club programs that Andy mentioned in Pajaro a couple weeks ago. To the extent that we are also open to including Pajaro in the city boundaries, or within the immediate preference, or any other changes that the state board might wish to make. We saw that in the report that the state board could change the preferences during the public hearing part. I'll just say that the main reason we did that with the city boundaries of Watsonville, one is, again, the high percentages of low-income families there. Two, the low performance rates at the schools within the city of Watsonville. And then I would say three is that what we found in Hollister and in Gilroy, once we were very successful, we began attracting the more affluent families. So even though our schools were located in the lowest income parts of Gilroy and Hollister, we saw families coming from the more affluent areas and getting in on the lottery system. The lottery is completely random, but because of that, we saw our percentages of low-income families decline, and that is the targeted community that we wish to serve. And as the superintendent mentioned, they have a community of Aptos, a very high-income community that we believe that when they see our scores and how well our education program is working, that it's going to be attracting those families too. And so we just wanted to, again, have some type of preference that would target the students that we feel need the type of educational model that we provide the most. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Yep, Gail.
I just have a couple of comments, and I just want to acknowledge that reviewing the data here, looking at the dashboard, looking at the two other charter schools and their performance, I do want to acknowledge, the district's concern that we might be talking about different levels of students that are coming in with different levels of English language acquisition and proficiency. And in being a former ELD teacher myself, I'm very well aware that sometimes you can't control when you get a class who comes in at what particular level. And so I do want to acknowledge that. With that being said, it's hard to deny the level of success that the charter schools have had in their other communities with regard to the English language learners as well. And so for me, that success does, because I know that having success at that level with English language learners, even if they come in with mid-level language acquisition skills, is something that should be commended. So I really was impressed with their progress, the English language learners' progress, and the success of the two schools in the other communities. And I really do hope that should this charter get approved, that the community of Watsonville will see similar progress and achievement by these students as well. So with that, I think for me, being a reasonable person, I think the demonstrated success specifically with the English language historically with this organization is enough for me to give them a vote of confidence and to support the motion that was presented.
Any others? Okay, if not, I'm sorry, did I interrupt Mark or Wes?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I appreciate I confirm what Gail has said. And I appreciate the effort and hard work of the district, but I believe that there is no silver bullet. I think that this organization, this charter is doing something different, and that I feel that, especially with the English learners, that needs to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others, Mark? Okay, let's take a vote then, commissioners. I'll start first with Curtis Washington.
Yes.
Wes Seaver.
Yes.
Mark Ryan.
Yes.
Gail Garbolino Mojica.
Yes.
Demoke Hinton Hodge.
Yes.
Lisa Constancio.
Yes.
Jared Austin.
Yes.
And I'm voting yes. So this moves forward with a 7-0 recommendation from the Advisory Commission to the State Board to approve this school at its January meeting. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attendance today, for your participation. This is going to conclude today's meeting. Want to wish all in the room very happy holidays and a prosperous 2019.